Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Insurance Journal's Academy of Insurance's weekly webinar after show. I'm your host, George, and joining me for the after show today is the director of the Academy of Insurance, Mr. Patrick Raitt. And our instructor for today, our class was Resilience for Risk and Insurance Professionals. And our instructor is Abi Potter Clough. Abi, welcome to the after show. Great to have you back.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Why is resilience you talk about, I know that you speak about leadership and change. Where does resilience fall into that in terms of like what made you want to create presentations and speak about the subject of resilience?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's the next step past talking about change, to be honest, because we have to be resilient when change happens, right? So the two really go hand in hand. And being in insurance, we see a lot of different things about how to help people, communities become more resilient so that they can rebuild more sustainably, maybe after a catastrophe or a loss. And so that sort of philosophy is kind of ingrained in me of how to keep being more resilient and keep being more sustainable, even in the face of changing weather conditions, let's say, or extreme events getting even worse. And how do we react and respond to that in a way that is more sustainable over time and maybe feels a little bit better as we go through it. So those were really the driving forces of why I wanted to do this research a bit more and talk about how to be more resilient.
Thank you so much. Those are great reasons why you would want to do something like that. So thank you. I really liked in the class how you break down resiliency into different, one of them was the components of resiliency, optimism and the ability to face fear.
Yes.
To me, among the 9 or 10 or 11 or whatever they were that stood out to me. And in terms of resilience that an insurer conveys to an insured, is it important to instill the idea that insurance is going to make the insured more resilient against whatever it is they're being insured against, both before, like during the, I'll say the sales process, during the claims writing, and also the claims writing process too? Is resilience like an important kind of sub theme to keep interweaving throughout the whole process, whether, it's from the beginning, whether they start a claim or not, start a claim, but start a relationship with a client, to if they ever need to file a claim? Is resilience like kind of the underscore of that mindset?
Oh, absolutely. I think so, because we know it's a partnership between insureds and insurers, right? To balance that risk management or that risk mitigation. There are so many things that insureds can do to help reduce their own risk. And so by partnering with their carrier and kind of understanding, even from the start of a policy inception, that they do also have a bit of ownership there or skin in the game. It's that idea of a deductible, right? They do have a contribution towards a loss if one happens. So it's everybody's best interest, right, to reduce that, the ability to have a loss or that predictability. So I think there is a good partnership there that risk managers certainly instill in their commercial clients as they go out and view sites and talk about, hey, you would save X amount of money every year if you replaced that fire suppression system, or if you were to build a better fence that separates or move the more flammable material further away from the structures where you have expensive equipment or where people are gathered. It can lower your premium. And so I think we are really good at that, maybe on a commercial level, where on an individual level or a personal insurance basis, it's something that agents and brokers really help focus on with their personal clients to help people understand not just driving safely, but what else can we do that reduces our own personal risk, because there are certainly more things that people can do to fortify their homes, to take better care of their renters insurance, in addition to those safe driving habits that we might develop.
Sure. And I love any reference anywhere, not just at after shows, but in any walk of life, to 1980s TV. And I love the A-Team quote from Mr. T, to have a comeback, you got to have a setback. Does Hannibal, I forget, he was Colonel Hannibal, George
Yeah.
Papard's character. I love it when a plan comes together. When plans come together, is that a product of, do you need to be resilient against anything failing or whatever to have a plan come together like George Papard's character in the A-Team?
Absolutely. And they had a plan B, didn't they? And a plan C and a plan D for when plan A didn't quite go as it should, right? There's always
Yeah.
something where, oh, this road is now blocked. There's an explosion there. The police are seeing, so we have
Yes.
to, we do something, we do it a little differently because, so yeah, that's a good example of resilience, right? We have to kind of alter what we would do. We change it, we kind of be flexible, which was one of the sort of tenets of being resilient that we talked about, is that idea of flexibility. So maybe switching gears and moving from plan A to plan Z sometimes when you need to kind of get through those different setbacks or struggles that are bound to come up. And I think part of it too is just going into it knowing that, yes, there's going to be stuff that doesn't quite go according to the way we want it to. It's not going to be ideal. And even understanding that when you're going into a situation helps you be more resilient because it gives you that precursor knowledge to know that I do need to be flexible. And sometimes it's just knowing that we're going to have to bend instead of break, and the breeze that lets us move and be more resilient.
I think Hannibal's plans B through Z were secret. Like, I've got a secret plan, don't worry, or whatever. If I remember correctly.
It worked out though. It always did, like good 80s TV at the end. Everything
Absolutely.
cleared up. Yeah.
Patrick, well, I wasn't going to ask you this, but what do you think of 80s TV? And also, what do you think of the idea of resilience in general and today's class in particular?
So first off, 80s TV, I mean, that's my jam. That's where I live right there. That's almost comfort food, right? And don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. This is, I think resiliency is one of those things that you build up over time. I think one of the most important things, Abby, that you had to say was that this is not necessarily something you're born with or a static skill. This is something that people build in their lives over time. I mean, all of us have got times that we could recall when things didn't go according to plan, the way we thought. I have been kind of joking with my family over the last couple of years that on my headstone it ought to read, well, that didn't work out the way I thought. And because I seem to be saying that more and more and more. The plans that we make don't often don't go exactly the way we think that they will. And to be able to see that it's not going the way it ought, shift and move into another plan or move into just doing something totally different. That is really the essence of this idea of resilience. And I felt like you were probably uniquely qualified to bring this simply because of some of the changes and things that you've been doing in your own life. I think isn't your first book entitled Life After Leaping In?
It is. Yes, you're correct.
That just taking a leap of faith or taking a leap to make a big change in life, that's something that requires a great deal of resilience, because oftentimes we realize we didn't know all that we thought we did, or we didn't know what we needed to know in order to make it a success. And then you look back a few years later and realize, wow, that did work out all right.
Right. I love the way you put it too. It's all about sort of embracing those changes, those ebbs and flows, right? And what comes out of what you didn't even know would be an amazing thing, right? There's a change, and now there's something new that you can do that you couldn't do before. And that's kind of beautiful, making the most of those opportunities kind of as they come up. I think that's amazing. And I think that is resilience.
Absolutely.
Agreed. You said also, Abby, that failure is an important part of growth. Is failure what we make of it in terms of resilience, like, or were we just not resilient at all if we fail? And if we fail, if we apply that to resilience, should we fail fast, learn from whatever, and then move on quickly? And it's kind of like an at bat in a baseball game. If you strike out, you can't be too defeated. You need to be resilient and try to make contact next time.
Right, exactly, right? Because that next opportunity is coming up, right? So much quicker than we think. So I agree. I think the failures are, of course, inevitable. We're all going to have something that doesn't quite go to plan the way that we want it to. But like we talked about a moment ago, it's that shifting gears and moving forward, learning from it. Being able to say that it didn't quite work out, and that's okay. Kind of shrugging it off, right? The water off your back, because it's certainly not the first or last time we'll fail. And
Right.
it's interesting when you think about it. When we were kids, you didn't look at it that way, right? Like you were a little kid, like learning to play baseball or learning to ride your bike, or I don't remember learning to walk, but I don't think we looked at it like, oh no, I can't do it because I failed that one time I fell down. I think you looked at it like, oh, that was surprising. Okay, well, I shouldn't move my leg that way because that made me fall. I'm going to do it a different way, and you sort of
Right.
intuitively like learn that from it, right? And then you can kind of keep moving forward. I think as far as failing fast, yes, I think sometimes we need to take the time to go through something. So maybe you go through a failure and it sometimes hits you harder than another one would, and you take that time to go through it, but you kind of stagnate there. It does have to be something you move past. And other times it can be a fast failure, like, oops, that didn't work out. I'm going to turn the temperature down a little bit next time so I don't burn those biscuits, right? We do that different. We fail quickly, we reiterate, and the next time they're perfect. And so those are the things where maybe the failing fast lets us kind of brush it off a little bit and just say, hey, no big deal. Be flexible, be humble, and then move on to something that will work better.
Not burning the biscuits is probably one of the small ways to win every day that you also mentioned in the class. Your class is full of great tips, outlooks, perspectives, quotes, philosophy, all kinds of things. I learned a lot from it in just an hour. So thank you so much. And everyone out there checking this out on our channel, it's so worth taking a look at this class. So Abby, thank you so much for your help, your wisdom, your perspective, and everything else today. Patrick, thanks for coming to the after show.
Thanks for having me. I like it.
It's always a small win and a big win having you here. So on behalf of our director and our instructor today, this is your host, George, saying, take care of yourselves, everybody. Be resilient and have a great day. And we'll see you next time. Take care.